Let's rumble! Wearing gray and white trunks, daring blue gloves, the spotlight is on the one and only, our president, the 46th President of the United States, Joseph Robinette Biden! Ladies and gentlemen, President Donald J. Trump! I introduce you to candidate for United States President, Robert Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. Inflation and the economy are on the minds of most Americans. President Biden, what will you do to convince the American people that you understand their concerns?
We're working very hard to bring the cost of rentals down. We have the strongest economy in the world. People feel good about it not being as strong as it was before. No president has had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation. But look, the idea that you bounce a check and you get a $30 fee for bouncing the check might change that. You can't charge more than $8 for that, or your credit card. You know, your late payment, $35. I mean, there's corporate greed going on out there, and it's got to be dealt with.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, what will you do to convince the American people that you will address their concerns about inflation and the economy?
When I was in the Oval Office behind the Resolute desk, I love that desk. We got to get back to that desk. We had the greatest economy in the world. We had the lowest regulations with great job numbers. China was paying us hundreds of billions, and we were paying farmers in Iowa and Alaska and in other great places. I joke, but really not. I got farmers $28 billion. Of course, I'm going to win their vote. I mean, maybe, who knows? Do you think Joe Biden would get $28 billion? Do you think Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, thinks of how he's going to deal with President Xi? We're going to come back. Please, you're eating up my time. If you want to save America from Crooked Joe, get every patriot you know and make sure they're registered Republicans Monday, January 20th, 12 p.m. We're all going to be there together. We'll make it the greatest economy the world has ever seen.
Mr. Kennedy?
My top priority will be to end the forever wars which are destroying our economy. We spent $8 trillion on wars in 20 years. COVID cost $16 trillion and closed 3.3 million businesses. My uncle made the resolution for peace. The primary job of the U.S. president is to keep us out of war. The corrupt merger between state and corporate power has shattered the middle class, poisoned our children, robbed our freedoms, and destroyed the American dream. 62% of workers make less than they made 40 years ago. Most Americans can't afford a college education, a home, or their health care. The military-industrial complex and big pharma have impoverished our middle class and spread chaos across the globe. Today, both political parties are the war party and in the pockets of the corruptorations. For 40 years, I have battled Big Brother in the courts. I will continue to combat the entrenched corruptorations hold on our nation from the White House.
President Biden, what do you have to say to fellow Americans who are concerned about the border and the inflow of illegal immigrants?
I will reinforce border employees and machines which will stop fentanyl and give us the power to close the emergency closure of the border. Politics derailed the bill. Laken Riley, an innocent young woman killed by a criminal immigrant. People pay $8,000 to cartels to enter the border. It's 6 to 8 years to get a hearing, but if it's only 6 weeks, people won't pay that price. We can do it together. I will not demonize immigrants, saying that they are poisoning the blood of our country. I will not separate families or ban people because of their faith. We are home to ancestors that have been here for thousands of years. We all came from somewhere, but we're all American.
President Trump.
Senators, a lot of the senators are respectfully blaming it on me. That's okay. They blame the border crisis on me. Even some Republicans blame me, saying that I don't want to fix the border crisis, and I blame Trump. MIT Romney said this: Biden is the worst president and most incompetent president we ever had, allowing thousands and thousands of people coming in from China, Iran, Yemen, the Congo, Syria, and a lot of other nations not very friendly to us, columns of fighting-age men. They look like warriors to me. Now, the U.S. is being overrun by the Biden migrant crime, vicious violation to our country. Biden migrant crime, but it's a bit long. We'll just call it migrant crime. Could be 18 million by the time he gets out of office. Governor Newsom, isn't that his name? I will close the border.
Mr. Kennedy, what would you do about the border and immigrant crisis?
I've been to the border between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Folks are coming on buses paying the cartels $10,000 apiece. Because of the laxity of the Biden administration, they have been flooding our country. There's plenty of ways to fix it. You just need political will. The key fix, I say, is appointing enough asylum judges or transferring asylum judges so that these cases get adjudicated before they come across the border, and to fix the wall. There are 27 gaps that were left in the Trump wall, and I will fill those gaps.
Ladies and gentlemen, we continue to the next round of questions. President Biden, what will you do about the issue of housing for the American people?
I'm pro-union. If you become a plasterer, you earn it. We wrote the America Rescue Plan we wrote. Gives people a fair shot to get their home in paradise. I've got the Congress back, and they have my back, and I've got this city's back, and it's going to get greater than it ever was before in the Big Apple. I brought back jobs after the pandemic. Chinese have a rail system that goes 130 miles an hour, or 230 miles an hour. Redwood Material is going to invest $3.5 billion for a battery recycling and manufacturing plant. My dad tried to figure out how to get a down payment to buy a house. Single-family housing starts are the highest they've ever been.
President Trump, how will you fix the housing crisis?
Listen, Mr. Xi, we are friends, but he knows how I deal. Those monster car plants you're building in Mexico, and you're going to not hire but sell cars to Americans. We will put a 100% tariff on those cars, and if I don't get elected, it will be a bloodbath for the country. If this election isn't won, I'm not sure that there will ever be another election in this country, or certainly not one that will be meaningful. November 5th, I believe, will be the most important day in the history of our country.
President Trump, we're asking about the housing crisis.
I'm talking about bringing jobs back, and people will have more money to buy houses with.
Mr. Kennedy, housing!
There are 3 giant corporations that own 88% of the S&P. They are buying all of the nation's farmland. They are buying up to 30% of the homes in the entire USA. Within 6 years, corporations will own 60% of all homes. I'm going to rejig the tax code so it's no longer profitable for BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street to go in like predators and buy all our houses. I'm going to create a new class of mortgages at 3% interest. It's been done before in a limited way by Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, which now have a 110B surplus, which no one is talking about. We will give every single family homeowner a 3% mortgage. So the average cost will be about $1,000 per month. We'll do this without raising the deficit, and these mortgages will only be available for people who live in that home and work in that neighborhood.
Past and present administrations have been accused of censoring free speech. If Re-elected? President Biden, how will you protect freedom of speech?
Both the right to free speech and the rule of law must be upheld. We are not a lawless country. We are a civil society. We are a free nation. But this is not a political football. Peaceful protest is allowed. Violent protest is not. It's against the law, threatening people, closing universities. It's against the law. It's a matter of fairness. There's a right to protest, but not the right for hate speech or racism. Racism is un-American. In America, we protect the rights of others to protest, but without hate. I will always protect free speech, but as well the rule of law.
President Trump, if elected, what will you do to protect free speech?
There is no free speech in the United States. I have been gagged. My supporters have been gagged and prosecuted. I have been charged for exercising poor speech. I am not protected by the freedom of speech. When I am elected, I will go after the corrupt judges and politicians who have imprisoned my followers and the people who have destroyed free speech in our nation.
Mr. Kennedy, what will you do to protect free speech if elected?
The Patriot Act was the beginning of the attack on our constitutional rights. President Trump helped the Democrats destroy free speech via cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency, creating a backdoor portal between social media and government, prohibiting non-authorized speech. Biden was worse. CNN, MSNBC broadcasted 24 hours a day about January 6th, but no one spoke about Biden censoring the free speech of his political opponents. Discovery from the Twitter files showed that 36 hours after he took office, Biden began censoring his political opponents. The FBI managed the censoring of political speech with the CIA, CISA, NIH, DHS, IRS, CDC, and the FDA. Both presidents instituted COVID lockdowns, and in 500 days we gained 500 billionaires, destroyed hundreds of thousands of family businesses, and destroyed the middle class with inflation. During COVID, without a mask, a CNN reporter asked if I was afraid of losing my life. I answered that there were worse things. He asked, like what I responded, like losing my constitutional rights.
President Biden, what will you do to keep our troops safe?
History tells us that freedom is not free. Ukraine has been invaded by a tyrant. We will not walk away. The price of unchecked tyranny is blood of the young and the brave. In their hour of trial, the Allied forces on D-Day did their duty. Now the question is that at our hour of trial, if we'll do ours. The best way to keep our troops safe is to rid Europe of the tyrant Vladimir Putin. That's how I'll keep our troops safe.
President Trump, how will you keep our troops safe?
President Biden says that he will keep our troops safe by putting them in harm's way. We keep handing out gifts of billions and billions of dollars. The Ukraine situation would never have happened had I been the president. Millions of people are dead. Cities will never again be the beautiful places they once were. October 7th would have never happened. Never happened. Ukraine and October 7th in Gaza and Israel happened because Putin and Hamas know that Sleepy Joe is weak. I will be a strong leader, and this will keep our troops safe.
Mr. Kennedy, how will you keep our troops safe?
We're lied to about Ukraine. We're told that evil Vladimir, like Darth Vader, is taking over Europe, the same comic book description of Saddam Hussein and weapons of mass destruction, which of course he didn't have. We provoked the Russian invasion. In 1992, after the fall of the Wall of Berlin, we promised that NATO would not move an inch west. We've moved 1,000 kilometers installing missiles in Romania, Finland, and Poland right at Moscow's doorstep. In 2014, the U.S. financed Ukraine riots and overthrew the first democratically elected government so we could funnel billions on weapons created by Raytheon, Boeing, General Dynamics, and Lockheed. Worse, this war pushes Russia closer to China. Both parties sold out to Big Pharma and the military war complex. I will keep our troops safe by negotiating peace. For 40 years, I have defeated Monsanto and other huge conglomerates. I promise that I will bust the hold that corrupt Eurasians have on our government.
Thank you, America! Now get out there and vote!